a couple of announcements. I would like to dedicate this class for Elui Neshmas of Rivka Svia Bas Shmuel Leib, and for the Refuah Shlema of Alti Michal Ben Malka Chaya. Over to you, Rena.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joyce. Joyce, there are a couple people in the waiting room. I'm trying to admit them. I'm not sure if it's...
I'll admit them. You go ahead. I'll admit them.
First of all, I want to thank Joyce and her husband very much for doing this chesed for all of us and for inspiring us. She's been doing this for a month, apparently. Thank you very much, Joyce. Should be a chus for you and your family.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see friends, a lot of people I know. Thank you for joining us. So much fun to see all of you. And if any of you are new to me, I'm going to introduce myself. Welcome. My name is Rena Yudkowsky. I'm a geriatric social worker and memory coach. So I have years of experience working with seniors and dementia. But what I'm doing now is I have put my memory course online. I know that some of you here have been to some of my memory classes over the past few years, and it's now online, which is very exciting. I have a whole course that I teach how to improve memory, and it's fun and interactive, and it's now online. So now I can teach it to anyone, anywhere in the world, and that's really fun for me. So what I want to talk about today, I want to start with talking about focus. I'm going to give you some practical tips to help us focus better, because focus and memory are very intertwined. Oftentimes we blame our memory for what's really focused. So for example, tell me if this sounds familiar to any of you. You go to the fridge, you open the fridge and you say, now, what did I come here for? Does that sound familiar? Or you throw your keys or your glasses or your phone somewhere, and where are they? And many times that is not a memory problem. It is, we were not paying attention to what we were doing in the first place. So we're going to talk a little bit about focus, because if we can improve our focus, we can improve our memory. It goes very hand in hand. I want to ask you a question first. I want you to guess, and you can write the answers in the chat. Because we're a lot of people on here, I'm going to let you write the answer in the chat, your guess. Here's the question. How many minutes a day does the average person spend looking for lost items? Again, how many minutes a day does the average person spend looking for lost items? Whoever wants to guess, put your guess in the chat. Put your answer to this question in the chat. Okay, someone said 2 hours. That's a very long time to waste spending 1 hour. Okay, keep going. 5 minutes, 20 minutes. Okay, we're getting closer. Well, we're getting very close. The answer is 16 minutes. But 16 minutes a day, if you add that up over weeks and months, is a lot of time. Now, if we could not spend that looking for lost items because we can focus on where we put those items, we'd have so much more free time, right? And we'd much rather be doing things we enjoy than looking for lost items, right? Okay. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to focus on what we're doing so that we remember what we did? That's the topic at hand for today. And I'm going to talk about 4 different techniques. And after we do that, we're going to do a brain exercise together. We're going to do an interactive brain exercise after this. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. 1 sec. Screen, share. And that is not what I want to show you. I want to show you something else. 1 second. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to get the right thing up.
No problem. Go ahead.
Okay, that's what I want to share. Let's see if it works now. Okay, share screen. Okay. Some of you might have heard me say this, but it's worth repeating because it's so helpful. TEAS, T-E-A-S, it's an acronym. It's 4 ways we're going to improve our focus to improve our memory. Okay, Joyce, I'm getting a box here that says people are in the waiting room.
I'm getting them now.
Okay, I'm going to ignore that then. Okay, so the topic of this talk is called, what did I come to the fridge for? And my business is called Memory Matters. How to improve focus to improve memory. T's. You have to remember T's, like herbal teas. TEAS. I'm going to tell you what this stands for. T stands for take one task at a time. T is for task. What are we all good at? Or what do we think we're good at? We think we're really good at multitasking, right? If I can type an email and talk on the phone and, hop from window to window, I think I'm super capable, right? Wrong. Multitasking trips up our brain. Now I know you're going to tell me, but I can't. I have so much coming at me. I have so much to do. I can't only do one thing at a time, right? I know someone's going to say that. So there are times in our life where we can't stop multitasking, but as much as possible, we want to be doing one task at a time. Why? What happens in our brain when we try to multitask? Our brains are actually what's called sequential processors. It means that we process things, like we take in information and we digest it, one thing at a time in a sequence, not at the same exact second. So we are capable of multitasking, but not really multitasking. It's really doing one thing after another very quickly. But when we try to multitask, how do we feel? And I'm sure you all know this feeling. You feel stressed. You feel like so much is coming at you at the same time. You feel like you have to juggle a lot of balls at once, right? So if we stop multitasking, we are going to actually be more efficient in the long run. We're going to be more creative. We're going to be less stressed. And listen to this, multitasking temporarily reduces your IQ by 15 points. Again, multitasking temporarily reduces your IQ by 15 points. Do you want to be doing that? Do you want to be reducing your IQ? I don't think so. So you want to, as much as possible, focus on one task at a time, because when you do that, in the long run, you are more effective and more efficient because you do one task and it's done. You do the next task and it's done. You do the third task and it's done. Instead of trying to juggle so many things at once. So it's interesting. They went into the workplace and they did studies and they watched and studied people who are multitasking, like secretaries, right? Think of a secretary who does a million things at once. And guess what they found? They found that they made double the amount of mistakes. So when they stopped multitasking, they ended up being more efficient in the long run because they were doing one thing at a time and actually getting it done. So this is also the reason, this explains the danger of talking on a cell phone while driving. Here in Israel, I know there are people here from all over, but here in Israel, there's 1,000 shekel fine and 8 points on your license for talking on a cell phone while driving. Why? Because it's really dangerous. Because your brain cannot do those two tasks at a time. When you do, or when you try to do that, what happens is it's the equivalent of driving while drunk. Okay, talking on a cell phone while driving is the equivalent of driving while drunk. That's how dangerous it is. You are half a second slower to step on the brakes. Now, half a second is a lot of time when it comes to a crash, right? So that's the reason that it is so dangerous and why there's such a hefty fine for trying to talk on the cell phone while driving. Now, people ask a question. So a question I get all the time is, well, what's the difference between doing that and, okay, someone's drawing on the screen. I'm going to ask whoever is drawing on the screen to stop doing that, please, because it's distracting me. Someone's kid, maybe it's a kid who's drawing on the screen. So let's not do that. Erase that, please. Thank you. What's the difference between someone who's talking on the cell phone while driving and the person sitting next to me talking to me? What's the difference? And here's the difference. The difference is that when it's on the cell phone, it's a virtual conversation. I have to imagine the person I'm talking to, right? So I'm using my imagination. It's a virtual conversation. As opposed to if someone's sitting next to me while I'm driving and they're talking to me, it's not virtual. Now, what happens though, if I get lost or I don't know which way to turn and I'm driving and I'm talking? What do I say? I say, give me a sec, stop talking to me so I could concentrate, right? Because I can't listen to that person and figure out directions at the same time. So one task at a time. We're going to find that we are in the long run more efficient, less stressed, more creative. And if your life is so full of multitasking that you can't even imagine not multitasking, no problem. But then don't complain about memory. If you come to me and complain about memory, I'm going to ask you, how busy of a lifestyle do you lead and how many things do you try to do at once? A great story. I was on the phone with my friend. We were both on our cell phones and we're talking. And then she says to me, Rena, you're not going to believe this. I just spent 5 minutes looking for my cell phone. And she was on it talking to me. Now, is that a memory issue? No, that's not a memory issue. Her brain is totally not paying attention to what she's doing. Her eyes, her hands were looking for a cell phone. Her brain was talking to me. So had she been concentrating on one task at a time, she wouldn't be doing that, right? She would have realized that she was holding her cell phone talking to me. So that's the T, multitasking. We're going to stop multitasking as much as possible. And when a lot of stimuli do come at you at once, whether it's 2 people talking to you, whether it's a couple windows open at your computer, take a deep breath and say, I don't need to be doing more than one thing at a time right now. It trips up my brain. And if 2 people are trying to talk to you at once, say, hold on, guys. I want to hear what both of you have to say. First you, and then you, okay? So we need to sometimes slow it down a bit. And this is by doing one task at a time, we're focusing on what we're doing. You will find it really, really helps. Okay, E, build a conducive environment. E stands for environment. When your environment is cluttered and noisy and dimly lit, and you're trying to read an article that you want to remember, or listen to a shir, or write notes, how effective are you going to be? How are you going to be able to remember that? Not very effective. Your environment needs to be conducive to learning and studying. This is true of people. All of these techniques are true for people of all ages. So environment, look at the lighting. If the lighting is not good, you're not going to be able to remember because you're not absorbing the information so well. If there's too much noise in your background, I know that when there's noise in my background and I'm trying to read, I have to read it over and over and over because I can't concentrate. Clutter, look at your desk, look at the room you're in. How cluttered is it? Can you really focus on what you're doing if your desk is a mess? And sometimes we don't realize that. We don't realize that the clutter, the noise, the lights all affect our learning and our cognition. So that's what I'm bringing to your attention. In addition, the awareness alone that it's your focus and not your memory is often helpful. I taught this course once to a group of ladies in Rehovot, and they came back next week and they said, you know what? It made me feel so much calmer and better just to know that it's not my memory. I realized after you said what you said, I paid attention and I realized I am not even paying attention to what I'm doing in the first place. So of course I'm not going to remember it. So we want to give ourselves a really good chance to remember through focusing. Okay, so T stands for task, one task at a time. E stands for environment, make a conducive environment to learning and remembering. A stands for automatically. We don't want to do things automatically. What does this look like? I walk into my house, I throw my keys on the coffee table. My brain is already thinking about 3 other things I need to do. So was my brain engaged in that action of putting down my car keys? Absolutely not. Therefore, I'm never going to remember where they are. My hand put my car keys down. My brain was in other places. So we need to align our brain and our body. So if my hand is putting my car keys down, my brain needs to be watching my hands, okay? So we're gonna stop doing things automatically. Another good example is parking your car. If you park your car, get out of your car and walk away without noticing where you parked, and then you say, I can't find my car, and you worry because, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? But we need to pay attention to what we're doing. And I'm gonna solve that problem, the parked car, in a minute when we do the S. I'll go back to that example. So you're not doing things automatically unless the only thing that automatically helps is if you have a makom kavua. Makom kavua means a set place, which means I always, always, always put my keys on the hook by the door. So if you have an exact set place and you always put your keys on the hook by the door, and you'll be able to find it. But other than that, and that's an organizational tip, and I do recommend having a makom kavua, a set place for certain things. And that way you won't lose it. But for some people, they can't be that consistent. So then we're gonna not do things automatically. We're not gonna just throw our car keys down. We're not just to park our car and walk away. We're gonna pay a lot more attention to what we're doing. Now, how are we gonna do that? Go on to the S. The S is senses. Use all of your senses. What are our senses? seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, touching and feeling, smelling, and taste. We're going to use as many senses as possible. And I'll show you examples of how this helps. Let's just read the paragraph underneath. It says, your senses stimulate the brain. If you use one sense to make a memory, you have about a 10% likelihood of remembering it 1 week later. But if you use 4 senses, you have a 97% likelihood of remembering it. So I'm going to tell you how we do this. And this is going to help us not spend 16 minutes a day looking for lost items, okay? So S, we're using our senses to pay attention to what we're doing. So now, instead of throwing those keys down on the coffee table, now I'm going to watch my hand drop the keys. I'm going to hear the clang of the keys on the coffee table. I'm going to say out loud, I just put my keys on the coffee table, okay? You're hearing yourself say out loud, I am now putting the keys on the coffee table. So in 2 hours when I go, where are my keys? Oh yeah, I heard the clang. I saw my hand put them down. I heard myself say out loud, I put the keys on the coffee table. This helps so much. I use it all the time. And everyone I give this tip to, it helps. Okay, next example. Actually, I think I have the examples right here. Yeah. How can you use your senses to help you remember that you locked the door? This is a typical one. How many of you have locked your door and then you go either in your car or on a bus and say, oh no, I don't know if I locked my door or not. And you're worried. It causes anxiety and fear. Well, we can get rid of that anxiety and fear because now we're going to have a good technique to solve this problem. So when you lock the door, instead of thinking about what you're making for supper, who you have to call, or whether you're going to make your bus, now you're going to, here's my hand with the key. You're going to watch your hand turn the key. You're going to listen to the lock turn. You're going to feel the key in your hand. What color is it? What does it feel like? Is it hot, cold, round, square? What's the shape of the key? And as soon as you lock the door, you're going to say, I have now locked my door. So an hour later, or even 10 minutes later, you say, I can't remember if I locked the door. And you go, yep, I heard myself say out loud, I have now locked the door. This takes away a lot of the self-doubt, a lot of the worry, a lot of the fear and anxiety about whether you did or you didn't, or you did or you didn't. We drive ourselves crazy sometimes with these things. So you're saying it out loud. By doing this, you're giving it just a few seconds of attention, and that encodes the memory properly so you can then retrieve it. Okay, encode means to get it from working memory or short-term memory to long-term memory, and retrieving it is getting it back from long-term memory to working memory. I go into more about how the whole memory works in the course, in the full course. Another example, look at number 2, that you turned off the stove. This is a big one, right? We all, unfortunately, people that really forget to turn off the stove could cause fires. So we want to make sure we remember that we turned off the stove. So you're turning off the stove. So you're turning the knob, you're feeling the knob, you're looking at your hand turning off the knob. You're moving the pot. That's an action. It's kinesthetic. Move the pot to another fire. And you watch the fire go out and you say out loud, I am now turning off the stove. You will remember that you said that out loud. Now, if any of you are worried about people thinking you're crazy because you're talking to yourself out loud, don't worry. First of all, it doesn't matter. We'd rather just remember what we need to remember than worrying about what other people think. And second of all, if you're walking down the street talking to yourself, you don't really have to be so worried about that anymore, because a lot of people wear Bluetooths in their ear and they're talking on their phone in their Bluetooth and you don't realize it. You can't see that they have a Bluetooth and they're talking to themselves. So in this day and age, it's really become normal to walk down the street talking to yourself. Another example, number 3, that you took your medicine. If I could see all your screens, I would ask for hands to show me how many of you forget whether you take your medicine. I can't see all the screens because I'm screen sharing. But I'm sure this is a common problem. So again, a lot of people use those pill boxes, which is great. But let's say you don't, or let's say you want to double check yourself. How are you going to remember that you took your medicine? You are going to look at the pills in your hand when you put them in your hand to take them. You're going to look at the colors, the shapes. You're going to think that's for high blood pressure, that's for heart, that's for this, that's for that. And you're going to give it a couple seconds of attention by doing that. You look at them, you look at the shape, the color, and see what think about what they're for, just for 2 seconds. And then when you take them, do they taste like anything? And then after you take them, you say, I have now taken my medicine. And later in the day, say, did I take my medicine or not? Yep. I remember the pink pill. I remember thinking about what it was for. I remember saying to myself, I now took my medicine. Okay, where you put things. Okay, I did the example with the car keys. Same thing with your phone and glasses. Everyone says they misplaced their phone and glasses. It's because you put it down without thinking. Your hand puts it down, your brain is not engaged in the action. So you want to engage your brain in the action by using your senses, saying it out loud, noticing, let's say, hearing when you put it down, noticing what the surface looks like. Now, in terms of a phone, I'll just give you some practical tips for your cell phone. We carry our cell phone around everywhere we go, a lot of us. A good idea is a pouch, either like they make these little purse wallets for cell phones, or some type of pouch or something you wear around your neck or crossbody so that you can carry it on you, or put it in the same place every time. Because the reason we lose our phone so much is because we keep putting it down in different places. So it's not that we don't remember where we're putting it, we're just not paying attention at all to what we're doing. Going back to the example about parking your car, I said I would come back to that. See, I remember to come back to it. When you park your car, sometimes it's these big garages that are very confusing. So if it has a letter or number, let's say it's 4B, let's say you parked in 4B, you're going to use your imagination. First of all, you're going to say it out loud. I parked on 4B. And then you're going to use your imagination, 4B. So I'm going to imagine 4 huge bees swarming around my car. If I parked on 4B, I'm going to imagine 4 huge bees swarming around my car. That picture, you're using your senses, you're using your imagination, you're using a visual image. Our mind thinks in pictures. So using that visual image is going to help you remember where you parked your car. Okay, now I'm just going to review the T's again. T stands for task. We're doing one task at a time. E stands for environment. We're making a conducive environment to remembering what we want to remember. A, we're going to stop doing things automatically. We're going to give it some attention. We're going to be mindful. I didn't mention that word. Mindfulness is a very important practice, and a lot of you might be doing it. Yoga, mindfulness, it helps us stay centered. It helps us stay focused on what we're doing. Deep breathing is excellent. Yoga is great. Being mindful of what you're doing helps you remember that you did it. So for example, you might say to me, Rena, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast today. And I'm going to say, that's probably because you were reading an article or looking at your phone while you were eating breakfast. You were not eating mindfully. If you would be eating mindfully and paying attention to what you're eating, you would remember it. Now, and S stands for senses. Now, if you are concerned, if you do all this and you're still having terrible memory issues or memory lapses, you're not functioning because of it, I would encourage you to get in touch with me. I can do an assessment. I can help you figure out whether there's something to worry about, or you can go to a local memory clinic. I'm not trying to normalize things that are not normal, but I think a lot of the things that people come to me complaining about, they don't realize it's because of attention and concentration. So these 4 things are going to help us pay more attention to what we're doing so we can remember it. It does work. Now, at the bottom of this paper, I just have my email address, rena@renayudkowsky.com. My website is renayudkowsky.com. I have a Facebook group for those of you on Facebook. It's free. I have all sorts of fun memory tips and aging humor in there. It's a fun group. I have seniors in there from all over the world. Now, if you are not a senior, if there are people on here that are not seniors and you are younger and you're saying, my life is too busy, I cannot stop multitasking. Again, I'm going to say to you, try it. Try it and see if your memory issues or your memory concerns go away. If they don't, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm happy to help you on a more customized, personal, one-on-one basis. Okay, I want to stop for a second and take questions on that information, and then we'll go on to the brain exercise. So just while I have this up, you can if you have a pen and paper, you could jot down my email so you can reach me. Also, if you want a copy of this PDF that has all the notes on it, just send me an email, rena@renayudkowsky.com. Send me an email and I'll send it to you. If you go onto my website, you can also join my email list and you'll get a freebie that shows you the difference between normal and abnormal memory loss. So, okay, let's see. I'm gonna I'm going to check the chat for a second because I see some things coming in. I like your background. Thank you, Shirley. It's a virtual background. The vocal is breaking up at times. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Oh, okay. Chayasara has, I take a photo on my cell. When I do that, I never need to look at it. Chayasara, do you mean of where you parked? Chayasara, you take a photo of what? What are you referring to?
I think where she parks her car.
Yeah, where I park my car.
Perfect.
I take a picture of everything, and I also take a picture, like if it's an elevator, which way I need to turn.
Excellent. That's excellent.
Mindful, and I don't have to refer to it, actually.
Excellent. So 2 things you did right. One is you pulled out your smartphone and you're taking a picture. That takes off the stress of having to remember, right? And what you did though is by doing that, you're giving it the attention, and then you're saying you don't even have to look at it. So you're doing exactly what I'm saying. That's a great example. But you do have to have a smartphone with you, and it has to be working, obviously. But that's a great idea. You're just by doing that act of taking a picture of it, you're giving it the attention, and then it encodes it into your memory as well. Okay, any other questions until this point before we go on?
You can unmute yourself at this point and ask Rena anything you'd like.
Can I ask you about multitasking?
Yes, go for it.
I wasn't quite sure about that because I'm retired now, but my job in a hospital, it was working for the general manager at the time.
Oh yeah,
it's all
you
about
multitask.
It's all about multitasking. The phone, there were people coming in complaining, there was this, there's that going on, and I found it actually very stimulating. It was very stimulating.
What happened after 8 hours of that? When you went home, how'd you feel?
I loved the job, so it was like a hobby.
Good.
So that was not a problem, but I understand the point.
Yeah. So there are jobs that require multitasking. In fact, a lot of jobs today require multitasking. But the point is that it causes stress and it trips up our brain. Now, also, since I see a lot of people on here are seniors, as we get older, this is one thing that becomes more difficult as we age, to pay attention to more than one thing at a time. So when we're younger, we can get away with it a little bit more. But as we get older, it gets more difficult. So that's why I stress this, because you might not be realizing that it's getting more difficult. So you're feeling it as a memory issue, but it's not really a memory issue. It's easily solvable. But yes, when we're younger, we could get away with it more. And I will also say, I think there are some people that are better at it than others. I think there is a subjective, ability there. But the point that's interesting is that it's not as good for the brain as we thought. Meaning it felt fun to you. And like I said, some people just love doing a million things at once. But as you get older, it becomes a little more difficult. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
When I speak to my aunt for an hour, I always do something else, because what a waste of my precious time. I'm only talking to her on the phone.
Right.
If I don't.
Okay. Good question. I know what you're asking. So you're saying you're listening to her on the phone and you're talking to her, doesn't take that much cognition. Can you do something else at the same time?
Correct.
Okay, good question. So here's the answer to that. And people ask me the same question with I'm washing the dishes while listening to a shiur on the phone. So there's certain tasks that don't take so much cognitive ability, right? Like washing dishes is not really that takes so much cognitive ability. So you can do that while talking to your aunt or listening to a shiur. However, it depends how much you want to remember that conversation or that shiur. So if you're doing something else while listening to shiur or talking on the phone, you probably could get away with it, but you might not remember everything from that shiur that you're listening to, as if you were sitting and taking notes, obviously, right? But let's say you're listening to someone who just needs to talk, and that's fine. And so you probably could do that while doing something else, but I wouldn't do something that takes a lot of cognitive ability. Like I wouldn't balance my checkbook while talking to someone on the phone, because you're going to make a mistake. And then you're going to say, why did I make a mistake? Right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you another funny story. And this happened to a young person. She complained to me that she took her chicken out of the freezer and put it in the milchik sink. And she's like, why'd I do that? I put the chicken in the milchik sink. She was very upset. I said to her, were you by any chance on the phone when you did that task? And she's like, I don't know. She goes to her phone to check. She knew what time she had done that. She goes to her phone. Guess what? She was on the phone while she did that. So it doesn't take a lot of cognitive ability to take chicken out and put it in the right sink, but what? She was not focusing on what she was doing. She was on the phone and she was focused on that. So there are times where you can get away with doing two things at once, and there are times where you can't. Or what happens when you make a recipe and you're putting, and you're talking on the phone, and then you go, wait a minute, I don't know if I put the salt or sugar in. Does that happen to anyone here? Mm-hmm. So look, I could tell you really you should be concentrating on what you're doing and not talking on the phone. But other people say like you, I'm busy. I need to be doing something while talking on the phone. I just want to, my hands could be moving. It really depends on the cognitive ability that it's taking from you. That's the answer, really.
Thank you.
Each of us could decide on that. Any other questions so far?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Sarah. I wasn't sure you were raising your hand. Hi, Sarah.
Okay. When I'm talking aloud about whatever it is I'm doing to remember, does it sometimes get to be, if every day I'm talking aloud, then I don't, whatever it is that I do, if I'm doing that every day,
good question.
It becomes routine.
Good question. So for example, taking your medicine, right? I gave the example of taking your medicine. You take your medicine every day, let's say in the morning, right? So how are you going to know the difference between today, yesterday, and the day before, right? Good question. I get this question a lot. So here's what I think the answer is. Your brain has the ability to filter out whatever it doesn't need anymore, right? Like we don't remember every single detail of everything, right? Our brain filters out whatever we don't need. So I think once we take our meds and we say it out loud and we know that we did it for today, or let's say for yesterday and the day before, I think our brain just filters out whatever we don't need. So let's say you say, let's say you say, I know I took my medicine today because I said it out loud, but did I take it yesterday? So in most instances, you're going to assume that you did. Even if you don't remember doing it, you're going to assume that you did it because hopefully you were mindful and present yesterday to take your medicine yesterday, right? So every day we want to try to focus on what's important for today. And I think our minds have a way of like filtering out whatever we don't need and what's not important.
What about if instead of that, before I take my medicine, I have it sitting in one place. Once I take it, the receptacle that it's in is sitting in another place, something very specific.
So you're saying that by moving it, you
that.
move it after you take it to show yourself that you took it. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
Then the next day,
that's perfect.
And then the next day, when I fill the receptacle, I put it in place A, and
Yes.
I do it that
Good.
way.
So yes, that's using an action or a movement or kinesthetic movement to remember that you did it. Yes, that helps you stay focused on the action that you're doing. As long as like when you do it, you're paying attention to what you're doing, which is what we're trying to do. We're really trying to be mindful and present of what my hands are doing, and my brain should be connected to my hands, right? We know that our hands, our brains control every finger movement, right? Every time I open my fist is from my brain. But what happens? My brain could be in Honolulu or dreaming about going to Honolulu, and my hand is doing something else. So it's about bringing our brain and our bodies together. And this is also very much about davening and praying. For those of us that daven and pray every day, how could it be? It was just Rosh Chodesh, Sunday and Monday, right? How could it be that I said Yalav Yavo and I can't remember if I said Yalav Yavo or not? Why? Because where was my brain? My brain was in Honolulu. It wasn't in my sitter, right? So I'll just give you the quick tip for this based on what I just taught you is obviously using a sitter, obviously, using a prayer book so that you're seeing the words, pointing to it. If you're alone at home, you can say it out loud if you're not bothering anyone else. And being very, very present and mindful of what you're doing and where you are. And of course, I actually put either a note in my sitter when it's Yalav Yavo or like a little sticky note by there just to then when I get to that point in my sitter, I remember that it's Rosh Chodesh. And all those things help, really being mindful. And also at the beginning of Shemona Esrei I say to myself, today's Rosh Chodesh, I'm going to remember to say Yalav Yavo. So it's all those things together that help you be present in what you're doing. But this act of kavana, and I talk more about this in my course, but the kavana, intention and attention that we pay to praying specifically is an age-old issue, right? We're not the only ones who can't remember if we said it or not. There are lots of books and sparring written on this and lots of strategies. But one of the great strategies is also visualization, visualizing that we're standing in front of the king and praying. And that visualization helps us stay present on what we're doing, okay? So it's using our mind to stay present and mindful and centered. Okay, in the remaining time, I would like to do a fun brain exercise. Let's see, I'm gonna need 2 people to practice this with me. Can I have 2 volunteers? I'll tell you what it is first before you volunteer, okay? So the brain exercise that we're gonna do, and I have lots of these brain exercises. This is what we do. I do this one-on-one with people. I do it in groups. I'm gonna be rolling out a membership program with lots of fun brain exercises. But this one's challenging and it's fun. We're gonna try to have a conversation between 2 people without using a certain letter. So we're gonna start with an easy letter like L, okay? So we're gonna practice this. Do we have 2 people that wanna be a volunteer to have a conversation between the 2 of you without using the letter L? Anyone brave enough? No, I cannot see everyone on my screen at once because there are so many people.
Yourself, please, if you want to volunteer, can you unmute yourself and talk now?
Perfect.
I'm game for anything.
Okay, who is that? Tell me your name.
Pat.
Pat. Okay, there you go. I see Pat. Okay, Pat, thank you. That's one. Who's the second one?
I'll do it, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you. Okay, so we have Pat and Hannah. Pat and Hannah are going to have a conversation now. So let's say, Pat, you're going to say a sentence to Hannah without using the letter L, and Hannah's going to have to answer you without using the letter L. And it's harder than you think.
Okay.
Okay, Pat, go for it.
Hello, Hannah.
Wait, you use L. Hello has L.
Oh. Oh, hi, Hannah. How are you today?
Hi, Pat. I am, Baruch Hashem, doing fine. Where are you from, Pat?
Manchester in the UK.
Good.
But I'm in the I'm in EY. I live in EY. It's not so easy.
It's not so
Easy.
easy. Oh, how much time have you been here?
13 years.
Ah, very nice.
And you?
I'm here 51 years.
Oh,
Ooh, wow.
so you speak Ivrit.
Yes, I do.
I don't.
Over the years, I've noticed that one can manage with English
English has
Here.
an L.
in this country.
English has an L.
Everyone.
You need to use a different word.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I did?
English has an L in it.
Oh my gosh. So much for focusing. Yeah.
Yes. Everyone I meet wants to speak my language. Oh, how I speak
Good.
from the UK.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good, right?
Okay, you guys did great. Round of applause. You guys are brave. Thank you, Pat and Hannah.
Nice to meet you, Hannah.
Nice to see you.
So good job. You guys did great. It's harder than it looks. it stimulates the brain. And did you see what it made Hannah do? She had to like improvise, right? She had to come up with another way to say it. And that is very challenging. It also makes you focus because she didn't even realize that English and Pat didn't even realize that hello had L's in them, right? So it makes you focus on what you're saying. This is actually a great exercise to do for Shmiras Halashon, for watching what you say.
Oh,
Because you have to be so careful with what comes out of your mouth. It always hits me when I do this exercise. It always strikes me about how it's such a good lesson for watching our what we say and how we speak. This is a fun exercise. You can do this with kids. You can do this at your Shabbos table. You don't need a pen or paper. You don't need anything. You can have this cute little brain exercise with anyone, anywhere. Now, L is a relatively easier letter to do. Try it with an E, an A, I, O, U, one of the vowels. It's much harder. So I had Rahmanas on you guys. But it's actually very stimulating for the brain. It helps you focus on what you're saying, and it helps you think out of the box because you have to come up with different ways to say what you're trying to say without using certain letters. And you can also do it. Well, then you could also do a three-way. You could do it like with 3 people or 4 people. Yes, Hannah.
I'm just wondering, how is it even possible without vowels?
Much more challenging.
Did you ever
much
do
more
it?
challenging.
Yeah.
You want to try it? Anyone here want to try? Anyone brave enough that you want to try having a conversation with someone else here without using A or E or I or O or U?
Wow.
Anyone up for the challenge?
Much difficult, this thing you suggest. That was without ease, and I had to think about it quite a bit before I said it.
Leah, you want to try?
I'll try it.
Okay, Leah and anyone else?
I'll try.
Who is that? Evelyn? Is that Evelyn?
That's Evelyn, and I believe I am Leah's mother.
Yes, you are.
Well, here we go. Isn't that fun? Evelyn and Leah, mother and daughter, are going to have a conversation without using the letter E. Go for it, guys.
Oh, without E. Oh, I was setting up without A. Okay,
A?
without
Okay.
E.
You want to do A? Whatever you want. You want to do A?
Do A. I don't know why, but
Okay,
all
you'll
right.
do A. Okay, go ahead. Leah and Evelyn are going to have a conversation without the letter A. Go for it.
Hi,
Hello.
Mom.
Hi.
How's everyone in the house?
They're fine. No, not say you're oh my gosh, all these words that I want to call. I'm covering my mouth.
It's hard.
Bill, never mind. Nope. Not having, is enjoying his first food not Tuesday, for now.
For now.
Right. Good.
Is he on the porch? Oh, I'm better at this. Is he on the
You're much better. Yes.
Not
on porch.
I thought better better for me, not better over you.
What?
It's hard. To what Leah meant.
It's too much.
This is very, very difficult. Yes.
Right.
I pass.
You guys did great.
I passed the A in it.
Did great, Mom.
Thank you, Leah and Evelyn. Yeah, A is much harder than L.
Oh.
But you can do this with your kids. It's really fun. I assume actually you could do it in Hebrew too. I'm just thinking you could do it really in any
How
language.
do you do it in Hebrew? How
Yeah,
do you do this in Hebrew?
do the same thing in Hebrew, but just choose a letter that you're not going to use and speak in Hebrew. So that could also,
Vowels is
I
very
actually never
difficult,
did that. I never did it in Hebrew. I have to try that with my kids.
because vowels is very difficult.
Say that.
Vowels, not to use vowels in Hebrew is nearly impossible.
I'm trying to think, is it harder than in English?
Might be.
I don't know. Try it.
Talking at all in Hebrew is a problem.
So that is one example of a brain exercise that you can do anywhere, anytime with anyone, and it's fun and it's stimulating. And after you do it for like a couple minutes, you like really you feel your brain working. So, any other questions?
No.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just thinking. Joyce, do you want me to go on for a few minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
okay.
Literally, you've got time. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to give you another brain exercise that you can do even while standing and waiting online at like the supermarket or the post office, for those of you that live in Ramp HMS. Or, okay, here's a good one. Here's a stimulating brain exercise that you can do while waiting online. Basically, you look around wherever you are. You look around and you look for, let's say, at least a 5-letter word, 5-6-letter word. So let's, for example, take the word number, N-U-M-B-E-R, and you alphabetize it. You want to alphabetize it in your brain, okay? Now, this is challenging because it makes you categorize and organize it and hold it in your brain and move it around in your brain. So let's take the word, let's just say you look around, you pick a word, let's choose the word number. And in your brain, you have to alphabetize it. So N-U-M-B-E-R would be alphabetized as B, E, N, M.
No, M-N.
M-N, thank you. M-N, see, someone's listening.
Yeah,
M-N,
R?
R, and U, right? It's not so easy to do. It sounds easier than it is. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to use our brain. We're trying to stimulate it, right? It's use it or lose it. So we want to use our brains, even in those moments where we're just like sitting and doing nothing or waiting online. So instead of like getting frustrated, we can be using our brains. So this is an easy one. You just take a word and alphabetize it in your brain. Now, if it's too hard and you can't do it, take a pen and paper and do it on pen and paper first. Once you get good doing it with pen and paper, you'll be able to do it in your head. Some people have a hard time with this, but it's really a matter of like training your brain to work like that, right? Just like people will say, well, I have a very weak bicep muscle. And what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you, pick up a weight, do some bicep curls. It'll be stronger, right? Same thing with your brain, especially if you're good at one type of activity. So let's say people always ask me, are crossword puzzles good for my brain? Well, they are. That's one example of something that's good for your brain, but that's not the only thing you should be doing. You should be cross-training your brain. So you should be doing a lot of different types of exercises. We want to work out different parts of the brain. I have a whole talk on training your brain. I'm just throwing it out there because it's interesting. But so crossword puzzles are good, but if you're really good at crossword puzzles and they're not challenging, then it's not doing the job. So whatever you're doing, you want to make sure it's challenging, okay? And the more challenging it is, the more it's stimulating your brain. What we're trying to do is create new neurons. We want to create new brain cells. And we do that through cognitive stimulation is one way. There are many ways to create new neurons in the brain, but one of the ways is through cognitive stimulation. So that's why these brain exercises like this and things like Sudoku and crossword puzzles and playing all sorts of games are good for you, but different games are going to work different parts of the brain. And we want to be working all different parts of the brain. I'm going to mention one more thing, and that is learning new things. If you ask me what's one of the best things you could do for your brain is learning something new. And that could be a language, it could be music, it could be, I don't know, a hobby. Learning something new makes new neurons in your brain. So you want to spend some time every day learning something new. especially if you have time. Now, if you add in a social piece, so you're doing it with someone, which I know these days is a very big challenge because we're not really with people that much anymore, or still, or yet. But if there's a social piece to it, then it's even better for you. So if you're doing something challenging for your brain with people, then you have the social stimulation, which is so good for your brain, and the cognitive stimulation. Now, social stimulation alone is excellent also, because what happens when you get together, even with one friend for coffee, you end up using your brain, right? Because you're talking and you're thinking and you're responding and you're laughing, and all those things are super good for your brain. So social stimulation is very, very important. And what I've been telling people is, unfortunately, today we're socially starved, all of us, we're socially starved. So we really have to find good creative outlets for socialization. So whether it's on Zoom, whether it's meeting people in the park and staying far away from, sitting, further than you normally would. The social piece is something we're all really, really missing these days. And it's not good for our brains. People are really suffering because we're missing out on that piece. So it's social stimulation and cognitive stimulation. And then, of course, the other piece, which maybe we'll talk about another time, or if you follow me, you'll hear me talk about, is the exercise, the physical stimulation, which I think you all know by now, but when you exercise physically, it creates more neurons in your brain. So I know a lot of you on here do exercise. I see you, I know you exercise. Those of you that don't, now's a good time to start. It's never too late, but I could talk for an hour about that. So I'm going to stop and take questions. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I remember meeting you some years ago at in the Keenar. It was the English getaway.
Oh, yeah.
And you came to talk, and you taught us how to remember people's names.
Yes, Pat, I remember you now. I see your screen. The lighting is not good, and if I can't,
no, it's not good. Not good.
I can't see you well, but if I would see you in person, for sure I would have remembered you.
Yeah. And you said how the importance of repeating that person's name 3 times when you meet them.
You
and
remember that?
I do it.
Pat, do you know how many years ago that was? I'm going to tell you. I know
exactly. It was 2000. I've got it here. It's 2013.
Yeah, it was 7 years ago. And we did a whole welcoming session when we went around remembering everyone's names. And see, Pat, 7 years later, remembers this because it works. So and that's only the first part of the tip. And that is to repeat the name back to the person in the conversation when you first meet them, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I have a whole technique that goes after that. But the first part is just to repeat it back to them in the conversation 3 or 4 times. And that helps. And Pat, you use it?
I use it quite a bit, yes, because I don't remember names very well. So I'd say, oh, hello, hello, Leah. Good to meet you. Where do you live, Leah?
Perfect.
And maybe we'll meet sometime for a coffee, Leah. Something like that.
Amazing.
And you don't forget. It's amazing.
Perfect.
I think I have to also say that I also remember when you taught us how to remember names.
Yeah.
But your name, right?
Yeah.
It was very easy. Yudkowsky was not easy. And you taught us Yud is 10 cows skiing, 10 cows skiing. And
beautiful.
And that was also 7-8 years ago.
That was a very long time ago, Joyce. And and my name is not easy to remember. Yudkowsky is not an easy name to remember. Good.
The technique was superb.
Yeah. Oh, so glad you guys remembered it. I actually took out the names technique. I extracted it from my full course and I made a 2-part masterclass. So let's say people didn't want to learn my whole course, but they just wanted the piece on names. So now I have a program called You Name It, and it's just the technique on names, and it's so much fun because it's what Joyce and Pat are talking about. We practice it. I teach the technique and then we practice it with whoever's on Zoom with me. And it's just a 2-part masterclass, and it's it's not a big investment of time or money. And after that, you got the names piece. So also, if you get on my email list, you'll see the next time I'm teaching that course. I hope to do the You Name It in the next few months again. I did it once and it was really fun on Zoom. I taught it many times, but I did it on Zoom for the first time a few months ago, and I'll be doing that again soon. So I'm happy for anyone wants to be on my email list, just send me an email or go to my website. When you go to my website, there's a pop-up and you can put in your name and email and it'll be automatic. And then you'll get the information about when I'm teaching that again. But the names is really, most people come to a memory course to remember names. And the technique is very fun and interactive, and I made it its own thing now, so you can do that alone.
What is your email?
Send me your email.
You know, I'm gonna type it into the chat, okay? I'm gonna type it into the chat.
Okay.
It's Rena at renayudkowsky.com.
And is that your website, renayudkowsky.com?
Yeah. Yeah, my website is renayudkowsky.com, and my email is rena@renayudkowsky.com, and I just put it into the chat. So it's RENAYUDKOWSKY.com.
Could you do that again?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's in the,
Don't bother, I'll send it out.
you'll send it out? Amazing.
Thank you.
I'll put it.
Rena, I had an idea. I heard from someone that if you practice doing the task that you ordinarily do with one hand and reverse it with the other hand, that you build more neurons that way, even though it's clumsy and difficult.
Yes. So instead of brushing your teeth with your right hand, if you're righty, do it with your left hand. It's much harder, and it rewires your brain in a good way. It like builds new neuronal pathways. Or writing. Try writing with your opposite hand. Yes, that's excellent, because you're breaking the routine. Like, you're making your brain do it differently, and that is hard. So it's challenging, and it creates new neuronal pathways. Yeah, that's also an easy, good one to do. I mean, easy, not easy. It's hard to actually do it, but easy, like quick, simple brain exercise that you can do. Thank you, Rita.
Okay, anybody else? Any more questions?
Can I just show one more very cute thing?
Go ahead.
I just want to say something that I'd like to thank Rena for the things you have taught us many years ago. Many of them I do use on a daily life. And when I meet people and I don't repeat their name the 3-4 times, I know I'm not going to remember them. But that's a choice I make.
Right. Thank you, Chaya. Chaya is on my website. If you all go to my website, you will see Chaya's beautiful testimonial. Thank you, Chaya. It's so nice to see you. I'm sharing my screen. This is just a really cute name and logo that we came up with. It's called Remembership. And that's my membership program that I'm rolling out. Isn't that cute?
It's beautiful.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
It's called Remembership. And basically you'll get a video, a brain exercise from me every week. And then once a month we'll get on and do like a group coaching call where we could ask questions. And my brilliant sister came up with this name. I love it. I just had to share that with you because it's fun.
And we can find all this out on the website, Rena.
The Remembership is not there yet because it's brand new. I'm making the videos now, and I'm going to be rolling that out very soon. So the best way to know about Remembership is just to get on my email list, which is to either send me an email or go to my website and put your name and email in there, and then you'll automatically get a freebie, actually, and you'll be on my email list. And very soon, Amir Tashem, I'm rolling that out. It's going to be really interesting, really fun, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, so when I send out the recording of this, I will include your email. And
Fantastic.
people contact you that way. Rena, thank you so much for being a guest on Drops. It was really great.
Thank you, Joyce, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rena.
So good to see all of you.
Thank you.
Have a
Very
good
nice.
night.
Thank you
Stay
very
where
much.
you are.
Ladies,
Thank
just
you.
before we go, I'd like to say our next speaker is Austin Robertson of HMS. So look forward to seeing you all on Drops next week. Have a wonderful week, and thanks again.
Joyce, just to mention that it's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Israel time, always.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Joyce.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you, Joyce, for being so amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Rena.
You're welcome. Thank you all for joining.
And Joyce, thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye. Bye.
Soon. Bye-bye.
Joyce, would you be able to send the recording from last week, please?
Send the recording for what?
From last week.
Okay, ladies, I just want to make an announcement. I'm thinking of opening a YouTube channel because every single week, many women ask me for old recordings. And because this is a free service, the cloud only holds it for so long. And then they say to me, would you like to update? Would you like to update? and they ask for X amount of money. So I don't want to do that. I would certainly try and send you the recording from last week, but probably will be easy if I open a YouTube channel and you could just get every recording on there.
Great, good idea.
I will try.
Great
Very
idea.
much.
We're working on it.
Thank
So thank
Rena,
you.
what do you charge for your class?
So can you be in touch with me privately and I'll answer the course?
Okay.
I have a couple different programs, so I'm not sure which one you're asking about. And I
Okay.
want to tell you what is included in the full course. So email me, I'll be happy to answer you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Just
It
as
was
an
lovely.
endorsement, I'm not plugging Rena, I just want to say that I have actually done it and it's amazing. So, okay.
Thank
everybody.
you, Joyce. I've actually added a lot since you did it, Joyce. I've added a lot of really good stuff.
Okay, so I'm on your mailing anyway, so I look forward to receiving it.
About the recording, I did write to you just before and tell you, this is Pamela, that you can save it. I do it with certain lessons that I have. You save it into the Google Pictures. I can explain to you how to do it, and then it's there always, and people can access it easily.
Okay, we'll look into it. Thank you, Pamela.
Yeah,
Okay.
you upload it. It saves it. The Zoom. If you record the Zoom, it saves it for you. In mine, it saves it on documents. And it calls it Zoom, and then you can upload that into your Google Pictures, and you can copy and paste it and send it to everybody who wants the link. You can send it on the WhatsApp.
Okay.
It's very simple. You don't have to worry about the cloud. But if you want to write to me, I'll explain to you exactly how to do it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Pamela.
that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.